Hello, ladies and gentlefolk. Welcome to the Zcast. I'm your host, Burnerator, and with me today I have Squee.
Lies, deceit, slander.
Yes, unfortunately we weren't able to get anybody else. Everybody else was busy, but Squee and I will be able to take care of all of the stuff that we're changing for season 7. I know that a few of you have asked for a Zcast to, go over all of the minute details, so
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're going to do. First off, would you like to talk about using Skype instead of
Sure.
the
Let's
forums?
let's let's get that one out of the way
Yeah, let's
first.
nip that in the bud.
Yeah. Well, okay. First, let's put it this way: we don't mind teams using Skype to talk about their team. It's faster. We understand. The staff, we use a Skype chat room, so we get it. It's faster. It's real time. It takes more time to post things and wait for responses, and that makes sense. However, there are reasons why we want you guys to use your private threads when discussing your team. Um, and the reasons are severalfold. First and foremost, well, I wouldn't say foremost because I think they're all about equal importance. But say first this. Let's say new people are checking out teams, and say they join the Saiyans or the Super Saiyans or the Rugrats, whatever, anyone. Let's say they join your team and they go to your private thread and they see no one's been talking for months. That's going to dishearten them. They're going to be like, oh, I want to go be on a team that's active. And maybe you've been active, but not on your forums. And how would they ever know?
Yeah.
Um, so that's one reason. The other reasons are simply this. We as a staff need to be able to monitor what's going on in the private threads. Now, we've said this before and I'll iterate it again. There is no staff member who is the coach of a team that has access to any of your private threads. In fact, I believe the only ones right now are me, Burn, and Rebel.
Yes, those are the only
Um,
three that actually can look in other teams' private threads because
mhm.
we are completely neutral.
Yeah, we don't have any teams, so we don't care who wins and who doesn't. Our
Yeah.
jobs for going through your private threads are making sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to, and it's necessary. It's been shown to us time and time again that it's necessary, and anyone who's been on the internet long enough will understand. There are times where coaches don't do what they're supposed to do, or teams have serious misconceptions. And here's something I've seen happen before: they have a very serious misconception about the rules or something, and spend 2 weeks debating an illegal build just to be told you can't have that.
Yeah.
That's a waste of everyone's time and effort. And more importantly, if a coach is being uncoach-like or the team is being unteam-like to the coach, we need to have proof that this is going on. We need to be able to point to something and say, guys, you're not behaving the way you should be, and this is causing problems with other people. Let's chill out. If that's done in a Skype chat, we can't help you
Yeah. We
because we have
have
no evidence.
yeah, absolutely no evidence.
And the last point I would say, which is the one that pertains to most of you, because let's face it, most teams don't have that problem. Most teams get it. But we need to be able to have a history of what your team's gone through. Again, let's say a new guy comes and he wants to join a team and he wants to know what the team's gone through, what the team's worked on already, where they are right now and how they got there. They can't do that if it's in a Skype chat somewhere. They can, however, go over your forums and read the entire history of your team and get caught up on everything that you guys are doing before they even say hello if they choose to. It's just like final builds. Everyone likes to be able to go back and look at other teams' past final builds. Same
Mhm.
thing applies here. Even more so for the bidding right now,
Yes.
because what we had was we put up bidding for week one. Week one's bidding is free. It's up. Let's do this. And we have people immediately post bids, and we have no way of knowing if they've discussed it with their team yet or not. Because it's not on their private threads. If it's in a Skype chat somewhere, how do we as a staff know that you didn't just make a choice for your team?
Mhm.
It's there to protect you because we're going to assume you did because that's really the only thing we can do. So all bidding especially, but really, most of your stuff should be handled in the private forums. Now, we don't mind you using Skype. Again, like I said, it's faster. It is a lot faster when you have a lot to hash out. If you've got a problem child and you want to put your heads together, get in a Skype call or a Skype chat and knock it out in an evening, we actually very highly encourage that.
Mhm.
But be sure to post the results and anything of importance in the forum so that we as a staff know what happened. And as new other players who weren't involved or aren't part of your team yet but will be can also see what happened.
Yeah, they can get caught up essentially
Hmm.
because they missed the Skype call or the Skype chats or you know have just joined. It's something that we have been trying to hash out for the past couple of weeks. As you guys have seen, I've made an announcement thread, Squeeze made an announcement thread. We're trying to get people to use their private forums a lot more because it seems that a lot of people are trying to use Skype and a lot of their conversations are on Skype, but then it doesn't translate over to the forums, so then it seems like you're just autopiloting the team without consulting anybody else.
Right. We've had coaches in the past, and most of you have been around for this, that try and take over the team and
Yes.
become dictators. And if you do stuff in Skype and don't say, hey, we did this in Skype, it just looks like you're making choices for your team without consulting your team. And we don't want that. We don't want there to be confusion. We don't want you to have to deal with that hassle. And we as a staff want to know that your team is working well. So really all we're asking for, let's say you had a 10-hour call with your teammates and you hashed out this. Just put something in the post saying, all right, guys, on Skype, we came up with this maybe for everyone who's not there or whatever, this is what we came to the conclusion of. And that way, I mean, that's all you need because A, we know it happened. And B, if that didn't really happen, someone else on the forum on your team's going to be like, we didn't do that.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's all you really need. That's it. That's all. We just need some sort of a thing. But we encourage you to use your thread, your private forums a lot. But if you love Skype, we're just asking for a simple post saying, hey, we had this. Here's what we've come up with. So that's it.
All right, so we have that. Let's actually start moving into the season 7 stuff.
Hmm.
Beginning with the new difficulty. That's the biggest thing of moving into this season that we've changed. We tried looking at the new difficulty last season, and I kind of pushed to not move to it last season because there were a few tests that kind of colored my opinion. One of them was a Grandpa Gohan fight that went on for about an hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah, it was
Where it
insane.
was just sleep, 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 and that was one round. So I was like, that's pretty much it. Like, it didn't seem to really change much other than some healing characters would heal a lot more. And I mean, going from once a season to at least once a match to maybe 5 or 6 times a match is insane.
Right.
Um, but we looked at it. We did a lot more testing this time around, and it seems like the new AI affects a lot of the lower, characters that were struggling and made them more melee heavy. A lot of characters are a lot more melee heavy, but there are some characters that can do extremely well on this new difficulty as a B2 character.
Let me go into some detail for this so that you
Yes.
understand what the process that went through here. So we looked at it about halfway through season 6, I think. It was about halfway through. I think
Yeah.
your test was towards the end, but it was still during the season.
Yes.
We looked at this as for those of you who don't know, there's a training program that someone made for Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 that lets you mess with the program a lot. And one of the things is that the game normally has difficulty level that goes up to very strong. It has two difficulty levels higher, which is even stronger and strongest. Now, strongest is not of use to the league. It almost completely gets rid of all B2s and just goes straight melee um, because the guy who made the program made it as a way for you to practice your combos. So that's not of good use to us. But there is a higher difficulty level called even stronger that we looked at, and it seemed impressive at the very first when we looked at it. And then we ran a few tests on it, which is what Burns talking about, and we're like, oh, okay, that's no. All they do is heal. That's an hour and a half match. Can't do it. Plus, it was in the middle of a season. Who's going to change the difficulty in the middle of the season? That's just a horrible idea. So we put it on the back burner. Then season 7, we started talking about season 7 several months ago, and I wanted to revisit it, and I took a look at it again. And because the thing is that it looked like people were behaving more competently. So what we did is we started testing it, excessively testing it, and we found that weaker team members started behaving more competently, and higher teammates that were already behaving competently did do better, but not as well. There was a graduated scale, which means that it had the effect of making the worst part people of the team a bit closer to the best people of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it also got rid of a lot of things like a lot of the derping. It's very rare to see people just stand there and take things now. It still happens, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Everything still happens. It's always going to happen. But there's a lot less of they are all the way across the map. I'm going to stand there and look at the sparkly as it comes and hits me in the face. That happens a lot less now. There's a lot less of I'm going to stun you and then just kind of look around and do nothing. Because people behave more competently. They stun you and then follow up with attacks. They grab and then follow up with a B2 or something of that nature. And it's a much more impressive fight. People dodge more. People block more, which is really fun to watch. They tag less. That is one thing. Whether you consider it a downside or not, the more I think about it, the less the downside I think it is. Tagging's always fun, sure, but tagging was always an element that we had no control over, and there were a lot of teams that would tag enormously, and there were some teams that would never tag. And this is kind of an unfair thing that we just had no control over. The
Mm-hmm.
fact that teams don't tag as often anymore actually gives more control to you, the coaches and teams, because you can now choose what your lineup's going to be and be fairly confident that that's going to be the lineup. Um, so there's that. Healing B1s, we did find that B1s were used a lot more frequently. Not just healing B1s, but all B1s were used more frequently, which was a problem for healing B1s. So here's what we did. When I said we did extensive testing before, it was a drop in the bucket to what we did next. We spent how long, Burn? Maybe 3 weeks?
Around there, 3 weeks to a month.
We took almost every single person with B1 healing and tested almost every single AI on them.
Yes.
For about 10 matches.
Mm-hmm.
Against themselves for 10 matches, which is really what, 20 matches? Something like that.
Around there.
Anyway, anyway, we did extensive testing.
Mm-hmm.
And we found AIs that were no bueno, and we found AIs that were acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, once we got that hashed out, we're like, okay, we think this works. We think we can use this for the league, and we think this is going to refresh the league and make it almost like new again, almost like starting from square one. Not quite, because your players haven't completely changed. The builds you still had still work, but now you just have so many more options.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying this out for season 7. We do want to stress, and we said this in the written one, this is kind of a testing season. If we go all the way through season 7 and this AI does not work, people don't like it, they hate it, they want to go back, we'll visit it, and we'll probably go back if that's what everyone wants.
Yeah.
So this is not set in stone or permanent, but I really think you guys are going to like it.
Yes. Also, during our testing, we really did focus on Yajirobe because, unlike a lot of the other healing B1s, his returns you to full health, no matter
Yeah.
what health you are at.
Yeah.
So that's why we had to limit him to only Tien and Frieza AI. And that's also the reason why we've had to kind of eliminate or, well, limit Eternal Life. Because a lot of the other AIs, like every single other character with a healing B1, instead of having to limit certain AIs on them, we just figured it would be better overall, since it seems like they're going to try to do a healing B1 either every match or twice a match, or sometimes even 3 times a match, but that's really rare. They're going to try it a lot more often than we're used to, and that coupled with having Eternal Life seemed a bit too much. And we didn't want to limit the AIs that much, so we figured we'd knock Eternal Life to the side a bit for those teams. This has kind of... It left a bad taste in the mouth of at least the Boos, because they have 2 healing B1 users, and that means they won't ever be able to use Eternal Life anymore under this new healing model. We're going to make sure that it works. We're going to revisit it if it doesn't work at the end of the season.
Yeah. I'll even say this, because we as a staff kind of if it is horribly broken, we'll
Yeah.
revisit it even before the end of the season.
Yes.
As in, if the Boos are never using B1s for whatever reason, which I can't imagine after all the testing we've done, I can't
Yeah.
imagine. But let's say it
Especially Kid
happens.
Boo. Oh,
let's say it
geez.
happens. Let's say they never use B1s. We'll revisit it and we'll be like, okay, let's fix this.
Yeah.
But like I said, I can't imagine that happening.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Um.
be honest with you. But yeah, so the new AI, there's a lot of things for all the teams to hash out. It is, and most of you by now, you've been ordering tests with the new difficulty, so you're starting to get a good idea of it. Melee is a bit more in the forefront here. Melee is a much more viable game. It's not the only game in town. Certainly it's stronger, but I've still seen B2 builds annihilate Melee builds on this difficulty. But it is fun to see that Melee is back with a bag of tricks, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
What's the next one after difficulty?
Let's see difficulty. I was kind of segueing into the new healing model,
Hmm.
which along with the new healing model, all healing B1ers, and I think this also applies to people with grabs, with healing grabs like Cell 19 and Dr. Giro. You cannot have light body anymore
Yep.
because again, they're attempting to pull it out a lot more, and because of this heightened, last season we had a lot of healing B1ers that did maybe 1 to 2 a season. We're seeing them again like once a match, which is insane. And if even 1 or 2 gets off, that completely turns the tide of the entire match. That's a lot of healing.
Yeah,
So
basically, even except for very few AIs, you can, as players, expect a B1er to attempt a B1 healing. I'd say once a match is about the average we've been seeing. And that's like I said, that's the average. If we gave you light body and you start trying to heal twice a match, we need teams to be able to stop that. It won't be fair if they can't.
mhm.
So, yeah. Um,
Let's
but
see.
again, like I said, these are all tentative. It's kind of setting us up back to season one, where there's a lot of minute balancing tweaking that we're going to have to go through. And, bear with us because I think that by going through this, we're going to have a much better league for it.
Mhm. And I think the last thing is free agents. Yeah,
Uh,
I think that's the next thing because I'm going over your rules changes and update. That's the free agent stuff and how that's going to work. So, as you guys probably know, we're allowing you to pick up a tentative sixth member of your team. At the end of this season, all free agents will go back to the free agent pool, and if it worked, next season we'll be able to do another draft with free agents and maybe a few other things tossed in. We're not entirely sure.
we
Um,
do want to stress that your free agent goes back into the pool at the end of the season because I don't
yes.
want anyone being upset that you did all this time and effort, spent all this effort and work on a free agent that you don't get to keep. If
Mm-hmm.
you feel that way, next time when bidding comes around, shell out the money to get them back, you know?
Basically.
Um, yeah, but I mean, everyone's under the same umbrella, so it's not like this is unfair. But and besides, it's more fun that way. That's why they're called a
Yeah.
free agent. They're not locked into a contract.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the way the bidding's going to work is I mean the free agent's going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone right now has 5 people on your team. Each
Yes.
week, one person is rotated out, and it's a 4-on-4 match, and each person has to be rotated out 3 times a season.
Mm-hmm.
There's each team is now going to have a sixth player, but this sixth player is going to be on inactive reserve, which means they're not starting off. They're not part of the rotation. They don't rotate out. They don't play. They're just kind of on your bench.
Mm-hmm.
Um, every 3 weeks, like week 3, week 6, week 9, etc., you can choose to move one of the people from your active roster to replace the guy on the bench and bring him in. This is to give teams, I mean, it does a lot. It gives teams a little bit more viability halfway through the season when, for whatever reason, your character was doing great and now you just can't do anything with them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have an option now. It gives teams with very strict themes a little bit more breathing room. The
Yeah.
Majins can't ever replace anyone with anyone. Well, now they can. Now they can have a free agent to give them a bit more breathing room.
Mm-hmm.
And last but certainly not least, this gives you the chances to change things up and catch opponents off guard.
Mm-hmm.
Makes it even
Because
harder.
the how you switch off a free agent, how you can rotate them, is during your final customization, um, what you're going to do is you're going to make your builds and everything, and then you make a note of, hey, I'm going to switch off my characters. So your opponents won't know that you're swapping in your free agent during that match. That's also why if you buy a boost from the boost store, you do the
Mhm.
same thing. You always put it in your final customization so that your opponents won't know.
Yeah, so basically every third week, every team has to sit there and think, are they going to change out? I don't know. So that it's just I think it adds more depth to how you
Yeah.
run your team, and it's a good thing. I think
Hmm.
everyone will appreciate it. Or most people will. I know some people are a little resistant, but every time there's change, people are resistant. Maybe you'll grow to
Yeah.
like it, maybe not. We'll readdress it at the end of the season, see how it goes.
Hmm.
So to get your free agent, we've done bidding.
Hmm.
Um, oh, I should state real quick to be sure. The way rotations will work when you trade someone out, they will assume how they will take the place of whoever you put on the inactive bench, which
Yes.
means that if whoever you put on the inactive bench had only rotated out once, the guy who comes in still has to rotate out twice.
Yes.
Um, and also to be very, very clear, your free agent does not have to start the season on the bench.
Hmm.
Anyone on your team can start the season on the bench. For example, let's say Team Derp has Hercule. Herc can spend week 1 through week 15 on the bench if Team Derp chooses. Your
Yep.
free agent is simply they're free agent simply because they are free. They're not tied to you by a contract except for the one season. That doesn't mean that they have to start on the inactive reserve. Anyone can start on the inactive reserve.
Hmm.
So, because I know there's been some misconception on that, so I wanted to clear it up. But so the way you getting the bidding agent, and most of you know this, so we'll kind of go over just the important aspects. We won't go over music and maps because that's already done. But each team got a certain amount of Zenny at the beginning of all of this, which was 30 plus however many losses you had last season. And I do know that some people have brought up that that they don't think it's fair to grade it that way since we're on a completely new difficulty level. However, how else could we grade it? I mean, like, I get what you're saying, but the other option there is to have everything be the even. And there are some teams out there that just, as far as we know, are just worse off. Like, I think it's more risk or it's less fair to just assume that all teams are equal now just because we've gone to a new difficulty level. So we went that direction. So anyway, you have a certain amount of Zenny. You use this Zenny to bid on your free agent. There are 21 free agents. Now, what we're going to do is for the next 4 weeks, we started day before yesterday, but for the next 4 weeks, we're releasing 5 free agents. On the last week, we'll release the final 6, but
Hmm.
5 free agents up for bidding. You, as a team, can bid on any of those free agents you want, and if you win the bids, they are yours for the season. Couple of rules: bids are final until you are outbid. Meaning, if you post a bid of 20 Zenny, unless someone bids higher, that bid is locked in. You cannot then remove it. It is yours. And if no one takes that character and you didn't really want them, oh well, you should have. I mean, that's how bidding works. That's
Yeah.
the point of bidding.
That's
Um,
how it happens in any auction.
mm,
That's why I always make the caveat at the very end of every single post: bid wisely,
yes.
because if you win it, you win it. That's it.
Um,
And if you're the
so
highest, you're the highest.
if you're outbidded, then you can remove your bid and then go bid on anyone else you want.
Yeah.
If you don't like who's in this week, you're not forced to bid. You can wait until who you want is there. That's absolutely fine too. Um, now, there we have also found a way because we were wondering, we are like, okay, what's to stop everyone from just bidding everything they have on who they want? And there's no fun. There's not going to be any bidding wars. There's not going to be anyone trying to be frugal. So we came up with the Boost Store, which everyone seems very much on board with right now. The Boost Store is a way to spend any Zenny that you do not spend on bidding. It gives you bonuses. And I don't think we need to go over all the bonuses because there's a list. Maybe some of the ones that people are a little unclear on, if there are any. But I mean, there's no
Yeah.
reason to go over everything on the list. We can just direct you to that post.
Yeah. One of the biggest things is we're allowing you to buy a free Patara.
Hmm.
Meaning that it won't count towards your maximum 7 customization Patara slots, or maximum
Points.
7 points.
Yeah.
Maximum 7 points. It'll still take up a customization slot, so you will still have -1 to that.
Right.
but you can
Won't be able to
essentially,
put 7 1-point Pataras and then an eighth 1-point Patara. That won't
yeah,
work.
yeah, you won't be able to do that. But if you were to say buy Draconic Aura, that would take up your seventh, and you would have 7 more points to play around with. You can
Hmm.
make a really powerful build with that, like an insanely powerful build. But there is an inherent downside with that in that it takes up that one slot, and on certain free agents where you're forced to have a free Broly's ring, now you're only playing around with 5 slots if you buy a
Well,
free Patara.
right. But I mean, let's be fair here. There's not a huge downside to this other than the
Yeah,
fact that it just costs your Zenny.
yeah,
I mean, the idea is that you're spending whatever money you have left over to get a free +1 super or free Draconic Ore or free Clash boost. And the thing is, it's a one-time use item. It's a consumable. You use it once. Week 12, I want to put this on Frieza, and Frieza's going to have Draconic Ore for the match of week 12, and then it's gone.
yes,
So you don't get to use this multiple times. Nothing in the boost store is multiple use. Make that very clear.
yes.
Um, so let's say you bid on an agent, you've got 15 zenny left. You go to the boost store and you can like, oh my god, look at all the things I can buy because most things are between 1 and 5. I think everything's between 1 and 5 actually.
Mm-hmm.
Between 1 and 5 zenny. So
Except for
if
Style of the Strong, because Style of the Strong
oh
is
right,
really crazy.
yeah, so the strong is 10.
Yeah.
But let's say you start bidding and you're careful on who you bid. Now, free agents have a minimum bid. Every free agent went through a trial, which you can go to YouTube and see the first week's trials. Basically, I made every free agent fight against Nova Shinrong with max health, so they both had 7 health bars. And I gave the free agent 2 different types of builds, a B2 build and a melee build. And this was for 2 reasons. One, so that you kind of get an idea of what you're getting into. I mean, we don't expect you to bid on someone with having no idea what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And two, so that we could determine what their minimum bid cost should be.
Yeah.
So that higher and better free agents cost more minimum bid. So we don't want people bidding 1 zenny and then go spend 30 zenny on the boost store.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every free agent has a minimum bid that you have to take into account. Do you want to spend less on a weaker free agent and spend more money on the boost store, which some teams are doing, and that's
Mm-hmm.
a perfectly viable option? Or do you want to spend it all on a really good free agent, which other teams are doing, and that's also a viable option. So
Yep.
now people really have to sit there and think about it, and we'll have bidding wars. If both two people want PyCon, why would that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Um, you're going to have to really think about how much do you want to spend to get this person and how much do you want to spend on the boost store.
Yep.
At the moment, there is no other way to get Zenny to spend on the boost store, period.
Yeah. We've
You
been kind of throwing ideas around, but we don't want to enter the scenario of the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, if you know what I mean.
Right, and here's the issue, and we might after bidding is done, we might readdress this if enough people want to,
Yeah.
and we might put in something like this. We would put to a public vote because it's a huge thing.
Yeah.
But here's the two sides of the argument that makes it really hard to give Zinni for any reason. First, you can give Zinni for people who win matches or do a certain number of B2s or hit elite status or do something like that. The problem with that is that's the strong teams getting even stronger. If you
Yes.
get a Zinni every time you win or every time one of your characters go elite, your team's already doing well. And you could say, well, going elite doesn't mean your team's doing well. Yeah, but look at the teams that did really well and look at how many elite players they had.
Yeah.
So basically, your team's already doing well. You're winning. You're doing well, and we're going to make you stronger. And the weaker teams at the bottom are going to look at that and say, "What the hell? Now I have to beat them even when they're stronger? I couldn't beat them when they were normal." So there's that side. But then there's the other art side of the argument too. What if we give Zenny to people when they lose or when they're doing bad? You have the other side going, wait, 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 wait. Why are these people getting stronger just because they're bad? And that would upset people too. So we're
Yeah.
kind of having to walk a weird tightrope, which means at the moment we don't plan on you getting Zinni any other way than bidding. Again, we might address this and might put it up to public vote and see what you guys as a league want. But as of right now, the only guaranteed way to get things from the boost store is to save your Zinni during bidding.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Don't
Yep.
count on any other ways as of right now.
Uh, and there are 3 other boosts that you could get at the boost store. Do you think we should go over those
Mm,
just really
some of
quickly?
the more confusing ones, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's the rotate your free agent, regardless of what week it is. So essentially, if you want to rotate your free agent just as a quick, hey, you can do that on week, let's say 5. It's not a normal rotation week for your free agent, and you can buy that boost, use that boost, rotate in. You just surprised your opponent. Boom.
And you can buy as many of those as you like.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were so inclined, remember when we said, every 3 weeks the teams are like, oh my God, are they trading out their free agent or whatnot? Most teams, and here's the beautiful part too, and we should make this very clear. What you buy isn't going to be public.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be known by the staff and by your team. It's only going to be basically what you will do is you will post somewhere on your private thread. I'm sure Burn's already working on this.
Yeah.
You will post, this is what I want to buy. It will be private. No other team will know. They'll know how much Zenny you had left over, but they're not going to know how you spent it as a team unless you tell people for some really weird reason. So if you buy 3 or 4 of those free agent switch out things, no one's going to know you have them. No one's going to be expecting in week 5 when you suddenly trade out your inactive player. So the boost store is not just a fun way to make your team stronger. It is an extremely good way to mind F your opponents.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, okay, a perfect example when Burn was a coach, and we've talked about this before. Burn was incredibly methodical about analyzing the other team.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why the Earth Defenders did so well as the season progressed was because he had more information to figure out how other teams would fight and how to specifically counter them.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how much harder that would have been if the boost store was available.
Yeah, it would have been nigh impossible. During my two seasons of coaching, both times I always had the harder time in the very beginning of the season and the easiest time at the end. But if this, even the free agent thing, if that was a thing back then, oh geez.
So the point is, you can use the boost store to make your team incredibly hard to counter because no one's going to know what you have. Until it happens.
Until hey, builds are public. Oh shit!
All right, so that one you can trade out your free agent or your let's say your inactive reserve. You can trade out your inactive reserve at any time because it doesn't have to be your free agent. It can be, let's say you're the Ginyu Force. Let's say you had Goldo on inactive reserve. You could trade Goldo for Captain Ginyu. That's fine. At any time. What's the next one?
The next one is to trade out a map. It's only available if you are playing at home.
Now, the thought behind this one is simply this. If you are having a match at home and you are fighting an opponent who you know they don't do well on a specific map, or maybe they do extremely well on your map, you can pull the rug out from under them. A good example is, for example, let's say you're facing the androids, and I kind of feel sorry for the androids, but I mean, everyone sees this coming a mile away.
Yeah, everybody
The
does.
androids do really well in water. Because they charge naturally and water doesn't really slow that down that much. So a map that has lots of water is great for the androids, which means that if you have a map that has lots of water and you know you're facing the androids, you might try and pull the rug out from under them and switch it to a map that has no water.
Yes. Quick note, these are only applicable to maps that you would have been able to grab during the bidding. So, like, the Saiyans can't just go, oh, hey, I'm going to switch to a night map because I'm the Saiyans. We're not going to allow that.
Right.
Because
now,
you can't get night maps.
We will let you use another team's map. Like, for example, let's say the Valkyries have Glacier and you switch to Glacier and we just have 2 maps on Glacier that week. That's perfectly allowed. But yes, we won't let Saiyans go to night maps, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, we won't let you, like, go to Mountain Road. We won't go to the tournament stage. None of that.
And see, oh, go ahead.
All of the other maps that you were able to possibly bid on, like Hell, like Planet Namek Destroyed, you can always trade out to those maps.
And a lot of people don't realize the importance of this. A lot of people don't place a lot of importance on maps. You can tell by the fact that no one really spent any Zenny on them.
Maps are super important.
Maps are incredibly important, and I strongly advise every team to consider such options. I just pointed out one point with the androids charging underwater. That's just one. What if you're a team facing a team that loves firing off B2s and you know there's a map out there that has lots of physical obstructions in it?
Yeah, like
what if there's
Muscle Tower.
Yeah, what if there's a map like that is really good when you have supers that cause people to lose lock on?
Mm-hmm.
For example, Kami's Lookout. You hit someone with a super, they lose lock on, they're under Kami's Lookout, and you're above it, they are not finding you.
Yeah, you have a
So
huge advantage.
there are real reasons to look and to use a map, utilize your map well.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and what was the third one?
The final one is to trade a player's bench with another player's. Now, how this works is you can only buy one per team. We were allowing you to possibly buy more, but after talking with a few of the other staff, we figured it would be a bit too crazy to be able to have characters like Kid Buu and also, let's say, Deborah in all 4 weeks. So 4 out of the 15 weeks, both of them
Yeah.
in. You'd only have to rotate them out twice. That's insane.
See,
So,
we weren't positive if it was overpowered or not. It's incredibly powerful. We
oh
weren't
yeah.
positive if it was overpowered because everyone had access to it. We were more concerned with this. Everyone would do it.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. What team out there is going to say, "No, I don't want my two best players to be in an extra week and have my two worst players out an extra week."
Yep.
So we wanted to make it a little bit more limited so that A, you don't spend all your money on that. Because here's the thing, that's 10 zenny right there.
Mm-hmm.
If you can buy two and every team buys two, you're more predictable. This way, you spend 5 zenny and then who knows what you spent the rest on. And
Yeah.
two, we want you guys to seriously consider it a little bit more. Who do you want this to go on? Who do you want to trade out with who?
Mm-hmm.
So we limited it to one per team, but it's still incredibly powerful. It means that your best character only has to be rotated out twice, and your
Yes.
worst character gets to be rotated out 4 times. That is amazing on both sides.
Mm-hmm. And the best part is the fact that, like all of the other boosts, you use this during your final customization. You can catch people off guard. You can go, oh, hey, week 5, I benched Krillin. But week 6, I'm going to trade my mid Goku's bench with Krillin's. So Krillin's going to be benched again, and mid Goku's going to be in again.
Yep.
It's
Krillin
the
just got benched twice. Yeah,
yeah.
in a row.
Krillin just got benched twice in a row, and Krillin's second bench count towards Goku's bench
Hmm.
essentially. He only needs to be out twice this entire season, Goku, and you just screwed up all of the planning for that week that the opponent just did.
Right.
Boom, done.
So, I mean, so these are incredibly powerful things and incredibly powerful reasons to not waste all your money on a free agent. I'm not saying that that's a bad idea too. If your team is a little bit weak and you're looking for a ringer,
Yeah.
hey, maybe it is worth spending all your Mizeni on that and getting yourself a ringer because let's face it, ringers are amazing. But for those of you who are on the fence that are like, man, I kind of want a good free agent, but I kind of like this stuff too. So,
Yeah. It we figured that this would open up a lot more thought and a lot more,
mhm.
you know, figuring
And it's
things out.
definitely done that.
Oh yeah,
We've been
definitely.
looking at the private forums, and it did exactly what we were hoping. Because it was funny, and it's kind of our fault. We thought people would be a lot more excited about bidding on music and maps.
Mhm.
Our bad.
Yeah.
Though I think we still maintain that people don't put enough stock into maps as they should.
Yeah.
We should have seen it coming. We should have seen people being like, "We don't care about that stuff. We're gonna save it on the free agent."
I just
So,
want my old map. Ugh.
so it's nice to see that this one, the boost store, it had exactly the effect we were hoping, which was people actually now putting thought into how much they want to bid on free agents.
Yeah. Um let's see. I think that's it for this season. Can you think of anything else?
Not at the moment, I don't
Oh,
think.
we are restricting all teams to only having 2 healing characters.
Yes, that is true.
So, like, we're counting all healing B1 characters and healing grabbing characters as healing characters.
Yeah,
So,
we're
for
not quite.
instance,
I was just gonna say we're not counting transformation characters because for two reasons. One,
yeah,
healing transformations are
it's not that much,
no,
to
you
be
you get
honest.
you get like usually about half a bar of health,
Yeah.
and there are a few exceptions like Frieza, and Cell who can get multiple stages of healing, but
Yeah,
they're rare, and that fact in and of itself has never been shown to be team breaking.
yeah. All we really needed to do to prevent that abuse from that was just ban Eternal Life from them,
And it's a
from those
limited thing.
characters. Yeah.
Even with Frieza, he can at max do it 3 times.
Yes.
And then he's done. A healing B1 and a healing grab is just however many
Is
blast stalks or grabs
indefinite.
you make.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Um. Now, along with this, for an example, the Boos were forced to drop Gotenks Boo and take Gohan Boo because of the restrictions to their master list. It is unfortunate, but there's not much we can do about it. Um, their theme is just really narrow.
Hmm.
And a lot of the other characters are on other teams. And those characters that are on other teams can't really be dropped. So another team that this would affect would be the androids because Derp decided to drop Android 19. If the androids pick up Android 19, Cell will never be able to go into a lower form because he will be able to heal from his grabs.
Right.
And that would be 3 healing characters. We're not allowing that. So Cell would have to be in his perfect or super perfect form, which
Yeah.
is
So
his
now,
last 2.
now androids. Just so you understand, if you want 19, you're still welcome to get him. You don't
Oh
even have to
yeah,
free agent bid him if you do it quickly.
yeah,
If you want to just pick him up, you're welcome to. You just have to make sure Cell is in form 3 or higher.
yes. And it also means that during the weeks that both Jiro and 19 are in, or even either of them are in, you're not going to be able to use Eternal Life. So Eternal Life is practically going out the window for you guys if you decide to pick up 19,
Right.
which isn't bad.
No.
It's not the absolute worst. If you end up picking up a free agent that doesn't have, well, you can't pick up a free agent that has a healing anything now because you can't have
Right.
3. But if you pick up free agent that doesn't have any healing anything, you could switch out 19 or Jiro depending on how well they're doing, and now you only have 1 healing character that is in. So the weeks that Jiro or 19, whoever is still in, is rotated out, you can have Eternal Life because you don't have a healing character in.
So, what was I gonna say? Oh, I should also one more thing we should cover real quick is
Mm,
the people that have been dropped from teams
yes.
will be free agents unless they're picked up by another team. So, for
Yes.
example, Pan was dropped by
No.
I'm sorry, not
No.
Pan.
Chi Chi. Chi Chi was
Chi
dropped
Chi,
by
yes.
Rugrats.
Chi Chi was dropped
19,
by the Rugrats. 19 was
19
dropped
was
by
dropped by
Derp,
Derp.
and Nappa was dropped by the Saiyans,
Yes. So right
which
now,
means okay.
Muscle can possibly pick up Nappa. Either Dragon Ball Warriors or Valkyries can pick up Chi Chi,
Hmm.
and then what you call it? Androids can possibly pick up 19. All of this is happening before the 7th. The 7th at
Right.
midnight, my time, is when I will close everything down and all things are final.
And all the teams know this. So
Yes.
the teams that this affects, they're known. Now, here's why I'm telling this to everyone. This means that for the free agent list, there have been a few changes. First, Cybermen's been picked up by the Rugrats. King Vegeta's been picked up by the Saiyans. And what's the last one?
Kui. Kui.
Kui has been picked up by Derp, which means they are no longer free agents.
Yep.
These 3 people, assuming, let's say the Vals don't pick up Chi-Chi, which I can't imagine they would,
Yeah.
but they might, who knows? Let's say that Nappa, Chi-Chi, and 19 are not picked up by anyone who can pick them up, as
Mm-hmm.
far as like it fits their team.
Yep.
They will be replacing those slots in free agents. So Chi
Yes.
Chi 19 and Nappa will become free agents. I
Mm-hmm.
will run them through the same test everyone else has run through, and they will show up sometime in the next 3 weeks. So,
Yes.
hey, who knows? Maybe that's something that's like, oh wait, Nappa? Oh, Nappa would be perfect as a free. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
just bear that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
After the 7th, you'll know for sure who your free agents are.
Yeah. All the free agents will be finalized by the 7th
Hmm.
and all of that. Also, a quick note on testing. We've we've lost a few testers here and there. We've gained a few testers, but we're not assigning testers to a Kai anymore. They're just all in a Skype chat. chat, and they all kind of try and help out.
Hmm. Which, by the
Because of
way,
this,
uh-huh, go ahead.
because of this, I've kind of consolidated everybody to one thread. All the separate Kais are all in one thread. So please do not, if your test has not been done, do not repost it in the new thread. We know about it and all of that.
Right. So, on a side note to this, we're always looking for more people to help out with testing.
Mm-hmm.
There's always more testing requested than can be done.
Yes.
Well, actually, that's not quite true. Our testers are slamming it, but we can always use more testing. All it requires for you to be a tester is for you to have a working version of the emulator,
Yes.
the game, and then the trainer program for the higher difficulty is free, so you can just download that.
Mm-hmm.
We can get you set up if you have the willingness to be a tester and a computer that can run it. The
Yeah.
willingness is the most important part.
Also,
Um,
recording software.
and oh right, and well, but yes, and recording software, but OBS is free.
Yeah.
Again, if you have a computer that's good and you want to be an official tester, we can get you set up. But keep in mind again, everyone, there is no private testing allowed.
Yes.
Period. This
All
doesn't mean
tests
now
have
the
to be.
advantage, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, yeah, we'll just stop there. Also, do we need stat people?
Um, I haven't even tried to get more stat people. I can try in the next few weeks, but it's
Yeah,
not even close to the new season.
no, no, no. We can just start. I'll just throw this out there.
Yeah, sure.
Stat people are basically every week. There are a group of people who go over the matches and record things like how many B2s this character did, how many of them connected, how many ultimates, how many times they tagged out, how much damage they did, etc. And these stats are, and I'm sure everyone knows by now, invaluable to teams.
Yes.
These stats, teams can look at how characters did and use that information to make better choices. So these stat people are incredibly important. You get your own badge on the forum and everything because we know it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
But it is invaluable to the league.
Yeah.
And I am going to try and make it so that if you are a statistician or a tester all the way through season 7, I'm going to try and get something for you, some kind of gift to say thank you. Not sure what it is yet, but it will be something and it will be neat. And if I have to pay for it out of my own pocket, I will do it because honestly, we need people and we need dedicated people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. If that's something that sounds like you'd be fun, and that honestly just takes will because you don't even need recording software or anything. You just have to have the will to sit down, watch a match. What usually like what twice? You can usually run through a match twice and get most of what you need.
Yeah, I usually run through it once. It
Yeah,
takes like
well,
half
but
an
you
hour to
had
do a
practice,
match. Yeah,
so
I've had practice.
you had
I've
practice.
been I was the one that basically created the stats from the ground fucking up. So,
Mhm.
excuse me. Sorry.
Generally, what it requires is if we had 8 people that were
Mm-hmm.
willing to do this, it would just be one match a week.
Yep. One match a week and boom.
Yeah, you'd be done. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, we need 8 people and we need dedicated people.
Yes.
And yeah, so just putting that call out there. Same thing for testing. If you want to be a tester and you can, if you want to be a stat and you can, and you remain one for the whole season, I will find a way to reward you guys. Some sort of gift. Maybe it'll be something Dragon Ball Z related. Who knows? We'll figure it out. Maybe it'll just be a Steam code or something. But it'll be
Maybe.
something,
Yeah.
and it will be substantial. So yeah, I think that's about it. Anything else?
I can't think of anything other than the fact that if you guys have any questions, concerns, or anything concerning stats or testing, please direct it to me, Burnerator.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bother the testers because they're busy trying to do the tests. If they're I can get in touch with them in a second. I just need to know if anything is screwing up, and it keeps me in the loop because I'm kind of managing them. I think that's it. Can you think of absolutely anything that we need to go over, sir?
I can't, but I will say this. Especially Bern and I will be on the forums almost constantly for the next few weeks or so.
Yeah.
So ask questions. Ask
Mm-hmm.
questions in a public thread. Ask questions in your private thread. Just ask us questions. I mean, sure, I'm sure there'll be a post for this Zcast. Ask questions underneath it. We will be on the forums to answer them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, especially while bidding's going on, I think at least once a day or once every 2 days, I go through everyone's private thread just to see what's going on, make sure there's no questions being asked, etc.
Yeah.
So,
Let me just check
go
one last
snooping around.
thing. One last thing, because I know we might have had a Zcast question.
I'm
Sometime.
snooping. It's always fun when like you're snooping around on someone's thread and you just see like a hey squee.
Yeah.
I see you there. What? Me? No.
No.
I
Yeah, we actually have one October 9th. Since it looks like last season's videos aren't available as a playlist on TGN or the Squadron's page anymore, will there be a Season 6 playlist on the DBZ League YouTube page? We should
uh,
probably do that.
yeah.
We should probably do that.
Yeah, we can get something like that going. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still on their archive. They still have a playlist of it. As far as I know, they haven't touched them.
Yeah, the videos are still there. I just don't think there's a playlist anymore. I don't know.
No, I think it's probably just buried.
Yeah, probably buried. Um,
Um, what we might want to even do is well, in the far future, is actually download those and re-upload them to our channel because who knows
yeah.
if they might channel wipe. It's not common for a YouTube channel to do that, but who knows? It's something to think about in the background. Anyway,
Yeah.
I think that's about
Um,
it.
what changed between season 6 and 7 that indicated the AI upgrade wouldn't break the league? If I remember correctly, the AI upgrade was looked at in season 6 but rejected. I'm pretty sure we already went over that.
Yeah, basically, we tested the hell out of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
We ran like 3 or 4 tests and said, "Oh God, that's broken." And then we decided to sit down and run hundreds of tests, literally
Yes.
hundreds of tests to see if it really was broken or if that was just an abnormality.
hmm And one final question. On a more fun note, what do you think would be the most entertaining pairing of free agent and team? For example, Dodoria on the Valkyries because of the DBZ Bridge reference, General Blue on the androids because of the Ribbon Army theme, etc.
I honestly think PyCon on Team Dirt because of that one movie where you had to yell at the jelly beans.
Yes.
That'd be fun.
I personally would love to have a Vegeta on the Earth Defenders because
Yeah, that'd be great.
I I love it. He is an Earth Defender. He's defended Earth, even if
I
he
like.
hasn't, wanted to.
I also like. I know there's a few teams out there that want to keep it theme. Like I also like the idea of like say Slug on the Namix.
Yeah.
Things like that would be fun.
Mm,
But yeah, no, that's about it. Really, is PyCon because of that one movie.
yeah, yelling at the jelly beans.
Like he's not technically considered to be fit because yes, while he did yell at the jelly rings and that was very derpy, he had an awesome match with Goku, so you can't count him. He doesn't fit the team, but as a free agent, it'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be funny. All right. Thanks everybody for watching. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.